Hello, all. Welcome. Welcome to our legal content managers discussion group. That's always a bit of a mouthful. Um, while we are just getting underway, I was going to ask people to, let's put just a warm up in the chat. So maybe into the chat. Maybe where you are geographically and how the summer has been treating you so far? Sentence or so? And then we're going to get underway in just a minute or two as people are joining us. Summer has been hot. Yes. Um, yes, I'm in Midcoast, Maine, and it has been actually generally nice, but was hot in the East Coast hot. And then we'll actually do some, unless we get a huge group, which I can't imagine we don't typically get an enormous group, we'll do some verbal introductions in just a minute or two. Hello to all. I see many familiar faces and one or two new ones. So very excited for both of those things. Let us get underway with some quick introductions. So our topic today is curation. So the idea that as content managers, often we are writing or working with authors to write content for our own websites. But there's also the possibility of pulling in links or descriptions and links or something like that to other articles. So either federal articles or other articles from other partners in the state, local jurisdictions, things like that. So we are doing a deep dive on that today. Would love to hear from you, and I'm going to just do a bit of a round robin. I will do what I've done before is I'll call on somebody and then say who's on deck just because I'm doing it in the order that I can see people, and that's not necessarily something that anybody else can see. So if you could talk a little bit, so maybe just your name. I'm also typing this in the chat. What organization you're with, and how you do curation, if you do. How you do curation, if you do. Um, Karen is going to be talking in more depth today about what they're doing. But do you want to just kick us off with a little bit of a introduction while other people think about this?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Karen Heredia. I am Law Help New York, Law Help New York's and Scale Justice content manager. Fun fact, it's my first official day. I've been working on Law Help New York and other legal aids for a while now, but today marks kind of the transition into me being full-time content management at
Full
Law.
time.
Yeah, so I'm excited to share a little bit. I've been working on this site for 2 years now on a part-time basis, but I'm very excited to kind of move full-time into this and kind of keep growing the content. And I will be talking about our approach to curation, some of the things that we think about. So I won't go into too much detail now, but excited to talk to y'all.
Fantastic. Thank you. I forgot to say who was on deck. Chinita, if I could impose upon you with Emily on deck to do her intro next.
Sure. I'm Chinita Chintapel McClellan with Illinois Legal Aid Online. We will have form links as a format type or direct links to other sites and just have a little bit of information about the organization and the content, and that's usually it. And within our content, we may provide specific links, but we try to incorporate or we try to include links but explain a lot too because we figure people can just go to those links and read, but we try and explain it differently so that there's extra context that people can read if they needed it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Emily with Shelley on deck.
Hi, my name's Emily Weija, and I'm with Wisconsin Law Help. I just joined in July as a contractor for about 4 months to try to get some more content on the site, and also in regards to curation, just hoping to work a little bit on a content lifecycle process and look at that. So nice to meet you all.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for coming. Fantastic. Shelley with forgive me. Angel? Angel? It's Angel, right? On deck?
Angel.
Angel. Sorry about that. I
It's
know you
totally fine.
corrected me before. Shelley.
I'm Shelley Ree, manager of LSNTAP, and I'm not sure I completely understand the curation aspect, so I'm not sure if I do it. So look forward to more discussion.
Well, we'll find out. Great. Angel, with Jay on deck.
Yeah, Angel, with Pisgah Legal Services in Asheville, North Carolina. We really haven't done any much curation in the past at all. I'm just really starting to with actually putting together some materials for our website in the past year. So what little we have done has been my own research that we then have our legal experts review and give the thumbs up on sources. And then some of it is just community partners that we work with closely.
Fantastic. Thank you. Jay with Brea on deck.
Hi, my name is Jay Collier. I'm with 603 Legal Aid in New Hampshire, and our content experts, subject experts, include links to external sources for further information, but have all of the core information within the content itself.
Great. Brea with Martha on deck. Brea, am I saying that correctly?
I'm Bria. Yes, I wasn't.
Bria.
I heard Bria before too. And then I went when Jay and I was like, okay, great. So yes, I'm with Lakeshore Legal Aid. Nice to meet everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I curate our identity site, and then we channel a lot of the viewers to Michigan Legal Help, which is our basic legal information portal. So we most of our effort aims at being strategic and not in limiting the information we put on there to like activities and identity related information. We're also under in the process of a big redesign. So our current website is just kind of like hanging in there until we can finish the redesign. So yeah.
Fantastic. Welcome. Exciting to have you. Fantastic. Martha with Betsy on deck.
Sure. Well, I'm Martha Beard Duncan, managing attorney for Texas Law Help, and curation's an interesting question. Although virtually all of the 1.2 million some odd words we have on our website is developed internally. You know, most of it, to be helpful, does refer to external resources as well, you know, with an explanation of what that is. We prioritize other legal aids, law library, stuff that's actually going to be useful for our visitors. But because we have so much stuff, you know, I'm actually looking, if anything, to pare it down to make it more structured. Especially in the day of AI search, I think that maybe we should take a less is more approach. So interested in what other people have to say.
Fantastic. Great. Betsy, and then we'll take anybody I haven't mentioned because I think that's everybody.
Okay. Good afternoon. I'm with South Carolina Legal Services, and hello, Shelley. And I am the Director of Private Attorney and Community Engagement. And another hat I wear is Director of, I oversee communications and marketing, which includes somewhat our website, although we have a webmaster who wasn't able to join us. But what the question is, I came in 5 minutes late from another meeting.
Yes, so we're talking about curation. So not necessarily information you have you've written for your website, but places in which you link out to other people's information.
Yes, and that is a huge struggle for us. And one reason I wanted to start joining these meetings is So our law help page, and we also, someone said they're limping along until they can get a new website. We're there. We're limping as well. And so our law help page, the web master and I have worked on it for a couple of years. We had some enormous, I want to say over 4,000 resources on there that ranged everything from how to apply for free lunch for your kids to, to true legal issues. And so really trying to have a meeting of the minds as to what do we want on this website? What makes sense? What will people be coming to our website for? If they want free lunch for their kids, are they going to come to us, or are they going to go to the Department of Education or somewhere like that? So really narrowing it down so that people aren't just overwhelmed and leave the website because there's just so much clutter there. So that's what, and most of those resources we're linking out to. Some of them are our own, but a ton of them we're linking out to other organizations, agencies, things like that.
Great.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. Is there anybody else who hasn't said a little bit about themselves?
Hi, yeah, I'm Ilana. I joined a little bit late as well. I'm Ilana from the Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles, she, her. And we, as far as external links on our website, primarily we have them as just a list of referrals for different types of issues, but we are developing a new page for mostly external resources related to disaster. So that's what I'm hoping to get a little of inspiration for today.
Fantastic. Thank you. Anybody else who hasn't introduced themselves?
I don't think I haven't gone, Laura. Hi, I'm Jane Ribbidanera with the Legal Services Corporation with our TIG program. I'm not really in charge of content curation per se, but also I work with a lot of grantees who are doing that and building new websites. So I was curious to kind of listen and learn so I can share tips and best practices with other folks who are going through this. So thanks.
Fantastic. Welcome. And I see Phil.
Yeah, I'm Phil Story with the Virginia Poverty Law Center. He, him, I mostly am responsible for our specialized eviction defense center to help people who are fighting potential eviction. And we don't, most of that content, almost all that content is created internally, but we do link out to some useful resources. But I haven't, that hasn't been our focus, but I've been sort of looped in with the Virginia Law Help as a subject matter expert with the Virginia Law Help site, and so I'm just kind of interested in hearing the approaches.
Fantastic. And last but not least, I think I saw that Lisa just joined us. Lisa, we're just doing quick introductions and talking about how you use curated resources on your website if you do. So linking out to other sites and not just writing content.
Hi, I'm here mostly as an observer because my role with regard to content curation has changed, but I'm very active with our State Bar's Access to Justice Committee and the Self-Represented Litigant Committee. So I just wanted to check in. I may not be able to stay for the whole session. I'm sorry, I was running a little late. I had something else to attend to. I wanted to just get a sense of what the tenor of the discussion is, because I work with those who do exactly that, who curate content in that capacity, at the State Bar work.
Fantastic. Welcome, Lisa.
Thanks for holding this session.
Of course. Great. And for those of you who are not familiar with this group, this is indeed a monthly discussion group. So we'd love to have you not just today for this great bit of a talk that Karen's going to do, and then we'll break up into some small groups, not only for today, but for future every third Thursday. Fantastic. So that was a little bit of a preamble to let Karen get ready to to talk. So Karen's going to talk just a little bit about how they think about this in with Law Help New York, where they do a lot of the site is made up of links to other resources. And they've given a reasonable amount of thought. She made sure to tell me in advance. They don't have all the answers, but they have some questions at least.
Yes, thank you, Laura. And thanks everyone for sharing. I think that there's certain points that I will also be kind of talking about that some people have mentioned. And so yeah, a little bit about Law Help New York. We help New Yorkers learn more about different legal rights and options on a bunch of topics. If you look through our site, I mean, we have all the topics basically, how in detail those topics are covered is another story. It's an ongoing process. But basically we use link summaries now for a while as a way to definitely fill in gaps. And it's a mix of whenever a partner organization has something, we go through a process to see whether it's the right fit for us to add it onto the site. So I put together just some slides just to help, more than anything, help me organize. So I don't just go on about curation indefinitely. Let me share my screen. Oh, Laura, can you give me access to screen sharing?
I
Yes,
think
Shelley.
Kai's taking care of it.
Okay.
For some reason, Zoom is not allowing co-hosts to give other people access. So we'll get it straightened out.
If not, it's okay.
Oh, no, we can absolutely do it. So give Kai just a second.
Oh, okay, great.
All right, you should be good now.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so basically on Law Help, and I tried to put some numbers behind this because Laura mentioned that, we have a lot of link summaries on the site. I'm actually at this moment not entirely sure what the balance is for us. We have nearly 600 resource pages, but on the back end, at least, we at this moment don't differentiate between what I call like full articles, detailed articles versus link summaries. So this terminology of like full articles versus link summaries is our own internal like labeling. And for us, it's mainly like we talk about it this way because full detailed articles, they are longer articles. They are like basically a one-stop shop, right? They help with the process from start to finish. We want all of the reader questions that we are trying to answered in this article. We call them guides interchangeably, like they are meant to be a full article that covers the questions that we're trying to cover. These are usually written or at least co-created between Law Help New York and partner organizations. So these full detailed articles, they obviously just require a lot of time, a lot more time with both writing and reviewing with a subject matter expert. And so we define what articles we want to write full or detailed articles for through a few different ways. I mean, sometimes it is through either a grant or just having partner capacity. Other times it's, having just subject matter experts on staff, or potentially turning what is maybe a dense legal document into a more plain language translation of that article. And so the full detailed articles on our site, I can just give a quick example. So for example, how do I share this screen now? Can you see this screen?
Yes.
The
Yes.
article? Okay. And so these are all just a full article. So someone coming here would know how to prepare defenses for an eviction case. We have ones on voting. And so it includes a full, like basically everything that we would like someone to know before they go to vote or what they need to do to vote. And there's others for, this is now in my way, child legal care plans. And so all of these were developed with different organizations, different lawyers, and subject matter experts. On the other hand, link summaries, these are shorter summaries, and the main purpose of these articles are to link out to external resources. And I'll talk next about what criteria we look for whenever we are preparing to link to something else. And I'll just show a quick example of something like housing help for people living with HIV or AIDS in NYC. We go a little bit into what these programs are, but ultimately the goal is to send people to these websites, or in some cases, partners have developed guides, and so we link to that. And I'll talk a little bit more about what we include for these link summaries. But so when we're deciding between linking versus writing, we link when, I mean, we can only link if something exists, but something existing is not like, you know, the bare minimum. What we really are looking for is a reliable plain language guide from an authoritative, stable source, which I'll go into that. Sometimes federal, national law, that doesn't vary by state. There's already materials that exist on that, so it's an easy thing with the caveat for recent things. Or it's a tool, so something that we wouldn't recreate anyway, and so we're linking out to that. We are writing when certainly no content exists and it's a high priority issue or question. When we want to have more control over the update cycle and have the capacity to be reviewing and updating content ourselves. Or like I mentioned, when there is existing content, but it's either written for lawyers, it's just not plain language, so it needs to undergo some sort of transformation in order for it to be plain language and accessible. And for all of these, I would say that we're still following the 80-20 rule. So we're focusing on the 80% or most common scenarios. And for any edge cases, that's where we are briefly mentioning them or linking out for those edge cases. But I would say that every article is addressing a common scenario. And if there are less common things within that topic, then we link out for those. So when we either get a external source recommended to us or we're looking for them, there's a few things that we are aiming for to make sure that this source is link worthy. One is that it's reliable, it's coming from a reliable source, whether that's a court, government agency, another nonprofit. We're definitely not linking to any like ad-funded sites, any forums, any for-profit law firms. Those are all automatically off the table. The main thing I would say with reliable source, I mean, even within this list of a court or a government agency website or a nonprofit, we still do have a preference. You know, I think a lot of the time we're definitely, especially as a New York site, I think right now we're really monitoring federal government changes, and as a informal practice, we are trying to, whenever possible, link to New York government sites or nonprofits, you know, legal aid organizations, since government agency, government websites in general are a bit in flux. And so that's reliable sources. Plain language is one of the bigger priorities here on this list, or if the biggest. We want something that's written for the public. This means grade 8 reading level or below. Ideally jargon-free, or at least is trying to define jargon or be accessible. And we are always framing this as, you know, users are usually reading these articles under stress, they're worried. So we try to make sure things are scannable at least, and will be useful, obviously, to someone who's looking for a clear answer. And then stable page is by an organization that will likely keep the page up. It's likely to be updated or reviewed, or the URL is unlikely to change. This is by far the one where we have the least amount of control. I think sometimes we know if a partner organization is maybe going to go through a new redesign. New York Court's website recently changed all of its URLs, so that was, a big thing that we just had to be aware of when the timing was for that to happen. And so this one's like a little bit more hard to predict, but occasionally we do, especially now with federal government websites just changing. We prioritize those less, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. Any questions before I move on? I mean, we'll keep talking about this, but okay. So for every link summary, so just because it's a link summary, it doesn't mean we just kind of like copy and paste over the material from that external resource. So we're always assuming every page needs to orient readers, especially since readers are often arriving via search. So every article, including link summaries, we like to have them, stand on their own. And so each link summary, even if it's like a super short write-up, what we want to do is have the problem be very clear on what we're trying to address. So that means useful title and intro sentence that just jumps right into what the issue is. And then who made the external resource. So in order to be credible and trustworthy, just being upfront about where we are sending someone. And expectations for what happens when they click, just because, if they're getting a PDF, they should know that, or a video, etc. And this can sometimes, I think link summaries can be 3 sentences. Sometimes we do a bit more. It really depends on the topic. And also sometimes we find a external resource that is really good, maybe in some aspects, but still you kind of want to navigate to a particular section. And so with every external resource, we, again, are putting ourselves in the shoes of our readers to try to give as much direction without overwhelm, in order to, once they get to that page, where they should go or what they should do. So we also do try, I occasionally will just add a bit more context, or I'll do a plain language translation of something. So at least there's some framing and context setting on our site before readers click into the external resource. And then some things to watch out for, things that have come up for us or that we're constantly thinking about. Link rot can be an issue. We definitely need to verify live links regularly. Our current content dashboard in Drupal allows for this, but I saw that, I think Jay, you shared a tool in the chat. And so we need to do these checks pretty regularly, so that we can find any dead links on our site. Usually that process is pretty straightforward. It doesn't really take me a long time to hunt down new links and things like that and just replace them. But you do need to stay on top of news and current events. We're feeling very much like trying to track all the federal changes and how that affects our articles is a big ongoing thing. And then for all of our articles, we have a last review date, which for our full articles is a bit easier to stay on top of because, we don't change that last review date unless there was a full review of that article. For link summaries, it's just a little harder. Not every source organization will have a last review date. And sometimes even those aren't the most trustworthy. So it's a bit of using best judgment to figure out what a review process looks like for link summaries. And Law Help New York is actually also going through a redesign, like so many of you. So I think some of these things we're working to address right now. But in general, I'm always tagging or flagging linked resources with like volatility risk. So I definitely worry about some articles more than others and just track that for myself in our spreadsheet for article tracker. And then I would also say one thing I'm always aware of is just beware of link bloat. We do get partner organizations or just like resources that are forwarded to us. And I think for us, the first thing is it has to be a legal issue of some kind. I think we've gotten a few different, I think we expanded our education section recently. But every now and then there's a few things where we're like, this isn't like immediately related to the law. And so we will pass over those. But I think keeping in mind just the 80-20 rule of just focusing on the most common scenarios also helps us, because sometimes we'll get, a PDF about something that's like very, very detailed, but not a lot of people need it. And so we either try to find a way to include that topic on our site if we don't have it already, or we do just sometimes pass on external links if it means just not adding more to a topic that might already be very full anyway. And yeah, I think that's my overview. I don't know if anyone has any questions from that or anything else you want me to dive deeper on. Oh, and okay, sorry, I remembered one other thing I was going to say. Is I mentioned a little bit about the federal government changes and things like that. So we went through a lot of the articles that were linking to US government websites and tried to, whenever possible, find different links. But for the places where it just wasn't really possible to do that, what we now have is this like yellow alert at the top that is basically warning people that this US government website might be outdated or wrong. I think that this is something that is being talked about more, but I would say definitely in my work with Law Help New York, we've been trying to be a bit more realistic in our language and, in the ways that we can to just name the things that are happening that are affecting, benefits and different rights that people have. And so, we workshop this message. And so this now appears on any page that links out to a like us.gov website. And then we also use alerts when things are changing or ongoing changes like specific to, for example, TPS. And so this is a link summary. It's a bit on the longer side because we include this long list of countries, but if you click on this, it goes to a government website. And so that's another way that we also, with linking to external links, we, when it's unavoidable and when it's something like what is happening currently, trying to just name things. And I would say that in general for our content approach is sometimes that it is just like, these are for like benefits, these are complicated processes and they're meant to be complicated to keep people from applying. Like we're getting a bit more real with things. And I think with link summaries, like some of what I mentioned just about also, even if a resource exists already, still giving it some context or helping people along when we can by just providing, reliable information. And I work a lot with different lawyers and subject matter experts to just get that right. But I think it's part of the more, for me, like the human side or the even like psychology side on how people retain info and why plain language is so important, and helping folks navigate this on their own.
Thank you so much, Karen. Definitely interesting questions. I have questions of my own. Are there particular topics that you found that there to be good national resources that maybe aren't so much in flux that you would like point out to people's attention of people who haven't really considered necessarily linking to national sources before?
Um, Off the top of my head, I know that like consumer law had a lot of different like national um resources that were always very helpful. I mean, I think even up until a couple of months ago were reliable things, and now it's just I don't know. I think that that's why we put up that banner, you know, because I think we felt like, well, some of this is plain language, so like certainly all of the like um uh credit bureau stuff and the consumer lawsuits and debt collectors, like there was a lot of really good existing language or resources or booklets on it. And yeah, and so CFPB, the feds are trying to end it. So it's, I think right now a little bit, if I were linking to that, I think it would be with the caveat that like, you know, it's under danger. And that's why we have um the alert at the top for things like that. And sometimes we add like a message at the bottom of the article to say like, you know, call your representatives, you know, we include links on things like that just because it's, you know, if it's going away, it's for a reason and we want to make.
Martha has a great tip that she put in the chat. Martha, are you willing to unmute and just share that?
Sure. Yeah, we've obviously encountered the same thing in Texas, and we're under like different levels of scrutiny too. So I wish we could use exactly the language you use about federal websites. But what we do, like if the website has moved, it's a source that's valuable to our users and it's still good law, we'll just go to the Wayback Machine, so the archive, and grab the link from there. And sometimes we'll also create PDF versions of the source so that we'll have it on file. And if sometimes we even add it like as a link that's like saved within the back end of our website, so it's accessible that way too. So if it's good information, there are workarounds, but you do have to stay on top of it. But at least Wayback Machine for now isn't going to go away. We also sometimes link to sources on the Cornell Legal Information Institute website if it's a federal law or regulation, because some of those links had a nasty habit of breaking over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
And you have to know the URL to use the Wayback Machine. And if it's been taken down, you have to navigate through.
But yeah, I mean, this is like if we had the URL to begin with in an article and the link broke. So that's the context in which we use Wayback.
Fantastic. Other questions for Karen or other? I know we have a lot of people who've done a lot of thinking on this topic. Other kind of things to share or tips in this area? Fantastic. What we're going to do next is a couple discussion groups ago, people really enjoyed some small group discussions. So we're going to do that again so maybe about 3 people in a group with about 10 minutes to discuss. So just to meet each other and to discuss. So I'm just seeing what's going into the chat. If there are questions, definitely want to get questions to Karen. So about 10 minutes to talk through with your peer, to meet your peers, obviously, which is a big goal of this group. And then to talk through what it feels like this means to you, what it is that you are thinking about curating, what you're thinking you're taking from this and what you might do. So I am going to break us out. So we are back. Thank you. So I'm curious as to whether there were any kind of next steps that people are willing to share. So anything that seemed compelling that people want to try, think about?
I'll just jump in and say, Karen gave me a great tip. I was talking about trying to flag certain articles or content for when they should be reviewed. And Karen was saying that if you have a subject matter expert working on it, it's a good thing to ask them ahead of time, like how often do you think this content should be reviewed? So thank you.
Absolutely. Fantastic. I'll just mention that Shanita chaired actually a Texas law help practice, if they're still doing this, of when they do the link description of actually embedding quotes in the description. So kind of like, here's an important part, here's another important part. Martha, is that still something you do?
Well, I mean, like we had a major redesign that went live in 2021, and so like every article has like a subhead on it. This article is about blah blah blah, and then there's a smaller introduction over the actual FAQ part of it. So, you know, maybe Janita, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, I think so. And yeah, this was previous. There were times where it was just like a link and then in quotes, you know, from there, but that might have been prior
I
to
mean,
this time.
sometimes we'll do that. But yeah, context is always helpful, and of course, that's just also a readability practice is have descriptive hyperlinks instead of just plopping a link there.
Right.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, that's definitely worth saying. That if you're linking out, very important to have actually, Martha, you wanted to, sorry, I won't steal your thunder. Do you want to just say what the accessibility practice there is for when you're linking out?
Oh yeah, I think everybody may know at least a little about it, but whenever you're linking to an external source, never say click here, because obviously a screen reader is going to will pick up click here, and that will be utterly useless to the person using the screen reader. So explain what you're linking to, like embed it in the hyperlink.
Fantastic. Other things that people are interested in thinking about moving forward with or taking away?
I would add one. In addition to a link going bad because content's been taken down, monitoring when that external content has changed. One of our concerns was with state laws and rules and regulations, the link stays live, but the content changes. So we've contracted with a company that takes our articles, finds the external page that has that information and lets us know when that's changed. So it prompts a new review.
Great. Actually, I had one question left on my list for Karen. Let me just ask this, or other people, and then we will wrap. So Karen, I think one of the things you mentioned as you mentioned linking out was linking to PDFs. And I just happen to know that Karen has strong personal feelings about PDFs. How do you balance that? How do you decide? Is that one of the things that you like might be part of the criteria in deciding whether a link you're going to link to it?
Yeah. So the reason why I don't like PDFs is that it's a lot harder to track changes or I mean, we always download the PDF, upload it to our site, but it's more work to track down any new versions of that PDF, things like that. So that's part of an informal, I think, process for us is that I, whenever possible, try to avoid PDFs. That said, I think a lot of partner organizations use them. And so I feel I feel better about it when I can track where it's coming from. And as part of a regular review process, we know who owns that PDF and we have direct contacts that we can confirm. And sorry, Laura, was your question just PDFs in general?
No, just how you thought about that as to, yeah, and Martha just put in the chat, not a first resort for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, not a first resort, but much more trusted when it's from our partners where we can kind of go directly to the source. I don't see as many like New York agencies really. I mean, there are very long, dense PDFs on certain topics. And I would say we really only link those, and this because that goes against our requirement for plain language to whatever we're linking towards. But sometimes the PDF that explains into detail, how to apply for benefits or how to appeal a decision, we'll add it, even if it's like 25 pages, or something, because if we frame it as like, if you want a detailed guide for X thing, download this. So I think the same kind of things apply for us, where it's just looking at it in the context of that specific article, and what our goals are and how to help a user understand the PDF in that situation.
Great. Thank you so much, Karen, for sharing that and for sharing previously. So as a grand wrap up, I would love if everybody would type in the chat just one thing they're taking away today. It's always useful for me to know what you're taking away, because it helps me know what you are, might get away from future things and what we should program. I'm going to just pause for 10 seconds to let you think and perhaps start typing. And do please join us. I'm going to make you type while I'm talking. For our so we are continuing to meet through the summer. So our next session will be the third week of August. And I'm thinking that will probably be, there was a couple people mentioned today, figuring out how to right size the number of articles. Like, should there be fewer? Should there be more? Should you compact them a bunch together? Should they be more but shorter? Ways to think about that. Ooh, I got a thumbs up from Betsy. And I know both Martha and Janita mentioned that. So fantastic. Great. Please continue to put your one takeaway into the chat. And I will hopefully see you again in August or September or some session soon. Thanks, Karen, and thanks everybody.
Thank you.